Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for Scrapbooking Boys to Men, a series that I do with my friend Christine where we move through the letters of the alphabet. This is the letter H and I am doing handwriting for the letter H. So when I decided to do this, I wanted to have something meaningful for my son to write. And so he chose, well, I suggested maybe he write out the lyrics to, or some of the lyrics to one of his favorite songs because I wanted to have his handwriting. And so that's exactly what he did for me. And then I took a picture of him doing that so you can see how he holds his pen, how he's kind of poised as he's writing, as well as the actual piece that he wrote out for me. And that is what I'm going with. So I am working here with the Maggie Holmes Willow Lane collection. That is part of the Scrap Room kit, as well as some Tuesday morning add-ons that I found. And then I am going to supplement that with some crepe paper marigold. And really, it's just that big H that I'm going to use for the title, and then a tag that'll be on the left-hand side of the layout there. So this is kind of a loosely based grid layout. It's actually very simple. You can see that in the lyrics of the song there is some repetition probably in the stanza, and so that left a big white space there with what I'm working with. So I want to cover that because otherwise it just looks like this naked hole in the middle of the layout. And I have a very busy background. So early on in the video, actually as the video opened, you could see that I had two pieces to choose from for my background. One was more white based, and this is sort of more creamy based. And I went with the creamy based only because the white was a very stark contrast to the more faded, subdued colors of the collection here. He has written on stark white, and I liked that because that drew your eye to the actual topic of the layout here. This is a sticker label that I have just collected somewhere over the way. I don't even know who the manufacturer of that is. When I put it down on the background paper that I'm using, it was sort of opaque and see-through, and so I just backed that with a little bit of white cardstock. And then I have two of these chipboard sets, and so I really wanted to use up some of the chipboard, but I actually only end up using one piece and then some of the stars from it. I had that blue house and I could have used it, but the problem was it was super dominant, so I'm going to end up fussy cutting a house from here, from some scraps that I have left over from when I used this for the scrap room. I did not cut into it from the bottom because I thought maybe I could use that yellow as a matte border around something. I like to leave my options open, and so I'm just going to fussy cut around this, and instead of going directly to it, there is a very thin border because there is some scalloped edges to the roof there, and I thought I couldn't be bothered with that. So I used my silhouette, and the font that I used is like Palatino letterpress or something along those lines. So just in silhouette, I just made a very big H. I made it bold in that green, and that green is what is from the Marigold collection. And the reason I wanted that green is green is his favorite color, and I liked the way that it just added a darker element to the page there. Left over from that, or sort of right next to that H, was that second half of that tag, and I like the way that the tag on the angle there just kind of breaks up that grid, the rigidity of the grid there. So committing to the placement of all of these things, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere that all down, and I do not put the title on camera because I wasn't sure if I was just going to leave the H and have it be assumed that H was for handwriting. But then I decided that I needed to draw your attention to that, because sometimes those single letters by themselves, like, could be H for Harold, only his name isn't Harold. And so I really needed to complete the title. And so I do decide to go ahead and use some puffy stickers to do that. I want to pop the house up off the page there, again, just for a little bit of dimension. And then I have the bulk of the elements here, and there are several popped off elements, but now it's just time to go in and embellish that. So originally, as I was creating, I was just going to leave this as it is, but you'll see that I find that it needed something to frame it. There's nothing grounding the layout. That's just something about the way that I design, is that I like to either have a header or a footer or a frame around it that just sort of grounds it, or something that connects right to left all the way across the page, or top to bottom. And there's nothing here. Everything just can kind of float off the page. And so I will take care of that in a minute. I can never figure out how to get into these packages. Some of them have those flaps that you open at the bottom. Some of them you have to open at the top, and of course this is older, so it's something that you open from the top. So I'm just going to use some of those stickers. They're very subtle, you can't really see them. They're just words. It says shine bright, and then the one up by the H says yep. And again, they're just, I have these embellishments, so I'm going to use them. I want to pull a little bit more color into that flower, into that house cluster down there, so I'm going to just use a couple of flowers. And then off camera, where I put the title in, I'm also going to put a couple of those flowers near that H and that bird there. And again, that is just to provide some unity from the bottom of the layout to the top of the layout, so that you have that, the layout almost moves on that diagonal there from the H down into the photo and the lyrics. So on that pink tag there is actually the story of that these are his favorite lyrics, and that is in my handwriting, because this is my story that I'm telling about his handwriting. I've popped that up on foam too, and I've chosen that green element because now I have 3 green elements that move across the page. Really, I just wanted to keep the focus on his handwriting, and so I didn't want a whole lot of embellishment to this. It's also really hard to find embellishments that are relevant to handwriting per se, and so these are more just decorative than they are relevant, which is what I prefer to do. I felt like I needed something up there in that top left, that there was just this sort of empty space, and so I just went with a little bit more yellow. This is where I decide to ground the layout. So with the Scrap Room kit, this is the cardstock that came with the collection, and I'm going to use that just as I used that blue border around his writing. I am using the blue border around the whole layout, and it just makes that darkness in the photo stand. It makes it kind of, it creates balance in the layout. But I wanted it to be a little less, because of the grid, less gritty, less rigid, and so that's why I'm going to tear these bottom pieces here. So again, this is Scrapbooking Boys to Men. This is the letter H this week. Christine is going to share her H inspired project as well. I will let you know that we are going to take the month of December off, so come back and join us in January, and we will move on to the letter I. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care.